Hello everyone, welcome to this video. My name is Abushad. Today we are going to discuss about Amazon VPC. VPC is Virtual Private Cloud. It's an logically isolated network. When we have a requirement to have an isolated network, then we can make use of VPC, creating a new VPC. Alright, let's see the basic components of VPC. There are two types, or mainly two types of VPC you can create. One is with the public subnet and another with the public and a private subnet. And there are VPN options also available, that is third and fourth option. Alright, so these two options with a public subnet and a private subnet, these are the two commonly used ones. Okay, so when you create your account, you get a default VPC generated automatically. That is by default a public subnet, VPC with a public subnet. I will show you in details about the default VPC which was created when I created my account. Alright, now in a VPC which has private subnet and a public subnet setup, you have this is the diagrammatic representation of the VPC which has a private subnet and a public subnet. Alright, so in case you have a backend uh, service, for example a DB service, then those service runs behind a private subnet because you don't have to have connectivity from outside to the backend environment. Your front end will be always in the public subnet where your application will be publicly available, so that will be in the public subnet. But for those backend services, the EC2 instance required to be patched. So that EC2 instance has to go outside and go to the internet to fetch the patches, whether it is for the operating system or for the application or for the database. This is required to be done. So for that, we have to create an AD gateway. With the help of elastic IP, the private subnet will be able to go to the internet gateway and to the internet. So this is how it works. Network ACL and the route table are by default created when we create a VPC. All right. Let's go and see now what the documentation says about the VPC. All right, so it says Amazon Virtual Private Cloud enables you to launch AWS resources into a virtual network that you have defined. All right, there are some VPC concepts. So in VPC, there are these components called subnet, route table, internet gateway, VPC endpoint, CIDR block, etc. And these are some of them, and there are other components as well. Let's go and see what are the limits for VPC. There are some quotas to the DPC by default. Let's see what are these quotas. Okay, by default you can only create 5 VPC per region, and this is adjustable. You have to contact the support to increase the number of VPCs. That is possible. Subnet per VPC 200, and this is also adjustable. You can contact support and then get added. And IPv4 CIDR 5, IPv6 CIDR is 1, and there is no adjustment required possible for this option. All right, let's go and check our default VPC which was created along with the account. This is the default VPC. So this is created along with the default account. I mean when you create an account. So let's see the subnets. If you see, there are 6 subnets created because I've created my account or the VPC in US East one. So in US East one, there are 6 availability zones. So in all the availability zones, the subnets will get created, and these are all public subnets. So how we can confirm that? Just select the subnet and go to route table, and you will see this option, the destination, which is the internet, goes through a internet gateway. So that means these are public subnet. So you select any of them and go to route table and check that to find whether this is a private or a public subnet. So if you see something like this, then which is going through a IGW, which is a internet gateway, you can select and check that as well. This is the internet gateway you see here. It's an internet gateway, so that means it is a public subnet. All right, then you will be able to see something called an ad gateway if there is a private subnet present which needs to talk to the internet. So if that is required, then the NAT gateways will be present. So in a use case, if some systems are there in private subnet, the NAT gateway will be there because of the requirement to go to the internet and patch the system. The NAT gateway option or the NAT gateway will be created here, and you will be able to see it here. So right now the private subnets are not created, so you are not able to see any NAT gateways, and you will see network ACL because it is automatically created while you create uh, a VPC. All right. So these are the options. Then peering connection is created when you want to have two VPC communicate to each other. So you can enable port inside between the VPC, between the IPs. You can create a peering connection, and then you will be able to communicate between the VPC. So for that, you need to enable peering connection, and you need to add that peering connection here. All right, now let's create a new VPC, and let's see how we can create a new VPC. Go to VPC dashboard, launch VPC wizard. Then you have 4 options here with single public subnet, with public and private subnets, and with VPN access, and with a private subnet with a VPN access. So for this demo, I'm going to create a public and private subnet. You can create a public subnet with a single public subnet, and then you can manually add private subnets and then NAT gateways, elastic IPs, etc. manually, and then you can build a VPC with public and private subnet. This is also possible, but you need to put on a lot of manual efforts to do that. But here it will be all created automatically. So let's go and create this VPC with a public and private subnet. Here it's a pictorial representation of what it is going to do. It is just a very small brief about what it's gonna do. You can see here it's public subnet with a NAT gateway and then a private sector connect to the NAT gateway for the internet access. You can see here internet access. All right, so let's go and click on select option. Now you will see here the IPv4 CEDAR block, which has got these many IPs. Five IP addresses are reserved. This is by default 5 addresses will be reserved by AWS. You can give VPC name. I'm giving my name here, Tushar VPC. Not changing any IP range here, and I'm not giving any preferences. I'm just giving name, friend, and public, and this will be backend private. All right, and here you need to allocate gave the elastic IP allocation ID, but currently we did not create it. So let's go back and create that. Go to services again, go to VPC. I have shown you in my diagram that elastic IP is where the private subnet talk to go to the NAT gateway. So we need to create an elastic IP for that. Allocate elastic IP. US East 1 Amazon pool of IPv4 addresses and then allocate. Now the IPv4, I mean the elastic IP addresses IP address got allocated. Then let's go back VPC dashboard and then launch VPC wizard again. Select the second option, public and private subnet. Select VPC name and public backend private. Let's select the elastic IP allocation ID. Let's go and create the VPC. It takes a while, takes at least a minute to create it. Well, let's go back to the diagram and let's verify it here again. So as I told you, this creates in different availability zones the subnets. So here the private subnet is going to talk to the NAT gateway with the help of an elastic IP, and it goes through the and it goes to the internet gateway, and from there it communicates to the internet to fetch. This is only outgoing connection, and this is only to have sort of things like patching, etc., to be done. All right, and let's see whether it is created. Okay, it will take some time. Let's wait for that. Okay, now our VPC has been created. Let's verify. All right, now our VPC has been created, and let's go to the subnets and see we have two subnets created, one for backend private and one friend and public. All right, now let's go to the route table, and we have two routing tables created. One is NAT routing and the other one is the default routing for the public subnet. So this routing table, which is a NAT routing table, which you can see here. Sorry, this is not the NAT routing. This is the public subnet route, which goes to the internet gateway for internet access. Okay, if you come here, you will see the routes, and you can see this is the NAT routing. So this is for the private subnet. Okay, let's go back and see the subnets here. Say, for example, private subnet, if you select, if you go to the route table, you will see this is the route table which is added, which is a NAT route table. So this goes to the NAT route table and then hit the internet gateway and get the internet access. Internet gateway, this will be automatically created whenever there is a public subnet created. This is by default, it gets created. So you can see here it is created. All right, then elastic IP, which we created, you have seen this already. Go to NAT gateway and you will be able to see NAT gateway created. You can see here NAT gateway is created. All right, it was not there before, so now you can see that it is created now. Network ACLs. You see one network ACL has been created for our newly created VPC. Inbound outbound rules are there. The NAT gateways are a firewall for VPC, and this is different from the security group. Security group usually handles the EC2 instance firewall rules, but network ACLs handles the firewall settings for VPC. Okay, so that's it, guys. So we have created successfully a new VPC with private and public subnet, and that seems to be working. I will create another video uh, where I create an EC2 instance which runs on this specific VPC. All right. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Do come and share uh, and subscribe. This will motivate me to create more videos for you guys. Thank you.